What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing the Laser Platinum NGK spark plugs on the winter beater. Today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on step-by-step on how to do the spark plugs yourself on your Mazda 3 or any car in general to save you some money and also to get you some premium spark plugs that the dealership might not offer for yourself. So today we're going to be doing the Laser Platinum. I don't know if they're actually Laser Platinum. I think NGK calls all their spark plugs Laser Platinum. I think these are like the best. Oh, now it says double platinum on the back. So if you guys want to get your set of spark plugs, Rock Auto is my go-to for spark plugs. Cheapest, I think these range like maybe like 40 bucks, 10 bucks each. Dealerships are gonna charge you 70, 80 bucks, 90 bucks for a whole set of spark plugs. Well, you can get the better one for half the price off Rock Auto. But anyways, we're gonna talk about a little bit things that you need to know about the spark plugs. We're gonna be doing it on the winter beater, and know that this is good for your car and that you should do this as a regular maintenance or one of the first things you do when you buy a car if they have not been done. Even if they have been done, just do them because you need to do them. So my beater, I think it has a misfire once in a while. It's got the O2 sensor light on. I gotta do the O2 sensor. I'm still trying to figure that out right now, but I know that the spark plugs probably haven't been done because this car wasn't really, you know, maintained. So this is part of the regular maintenance, and that's why we're gonna be doing these today. So when you go and buy spark plugs, there's a few things that you guys need to know. So there's this thing called spark plug gap. Now, if we go ahead and take spark plug, I'll show you for an example here what I'm gonna be talking about. So here we have our spark plug. Go ahead and take the little cover off. You guys can see this is obviously where the spark happens. This is where the fuel ignites, and this is where it goes boom. This is where you make your power. There's a gap in here, and this gap is essential to how your car runs. So this gap needs to be a certain position for your car to run at optimal performance, and if it's not, then you will run into issues and you could harm your motor. So when you're buying spark plugs, you need to figure out what this gap is. Now for the Mazda 3s, this specific gap can range anywhere from 0.47 to 0.53, I believe. But the Mazda Speed 3s, you're looking at about 0.26 to about 0.32, I think it is. It's either 0.0. Anyways, you guys can look it up if you'd like. So these cars are 0.47 to 0.53. So these should be pre-gapped, I think, at 0.53. But one thing that you guys can do is get a check tool. I have no idea where it went, but I do have one. We have this guy. This one lets you adjust, and you can also measure. Has a few measurements. So if we look on here, there's 0.05, there's 0.050. So let's go check. Let's check the 0.050 and see if this fits in, which it looks like just barely wants to. So I'm going to guess that this gap is approximately about 0.48, which will be good for our application. But when you guys are buying spark plugs from Rock Auto, they will tell you in the details of the spark plug what the gap is. So if the gap is way off, you guys can still buy them, but you need to make sure that you adjust. But I went with the NGKs that are already pre-gapped, but you should always check your gap anyway because sometimes they can be wrong when they come in from packaging. So here we have a spark plug socket, and what makes this a spark plug socket is that inside there's a rubber grommet that holds onto the spark plug, so when you pull the socket out, the spark plug also comes with it. This is a 5/8 or 16 millimeter, and this will fit over. I actually haven't tested this, so we'll make sure. I shouldn't touch this with my hands, but make sure this fits, and it fits in perfectly. And as you guys you kind of heard there, it made like a little latching noise, is because that rubber is holding it in. So when you pull it out, it's gonna be perfect. So this is a perfect size. You guys don't need spark plug sockets. But without further ado, since we know what we need to do, let's go ahead, jump into the beater and get started with this install. Go ahead, open the hood. After you're done that, take the engine cover off. Now, to someone new to this installation, I would suggest removing the battery. It's always good to remove the battery, especially if your spark plugs are really bad and it kind of needs to relearn the idle because of your new spark plugs. That's always a good situation to learn, is to unplug your battery, especially because you're dealing with electrical and you can foul your plugs sometimes in this kind of situation. So if you guys take a look here, you can see what we're dealing with. You got 4 plugs here, and they're all held down by a bolt. So we have to remove these bolts to get the coil packs out. But first thing, what we're gonna do is unplug these coil packs. Now, it might look different between your brands, but this is for sure gonna be pretty much the same regarding all of them. So go ahead and push down, and you can just pull them out like this. Remember where the wires go. It's kind of easy because they're all certain lengths to basically get them off. So grab a deep socket. These are 8 millimeter bolts, and grab a little ratchet. We're gonna go ahead and remove these bad boys. rusty or not, they still come off pretty easily. And these are a little warm as well, so it makes it a little easier to do my job with hand once you've cracked them loose. So if you guys have this on this one, you guys can just use some needle nose, grab right here and just give it a good pull. Now that we've taken that one off, we can go ahead and remove this boy as well. Now that we've all had this said and done, we can go ahead and gently remove. So try and remember again where these come out of. So 1, 2. And you guys can, you know, it's kind of cool. You guys can look in here. It looks like these are all relative. That one looks a little rusty. That one's quite rusted. And that one's clean. So they all look relatively pretty clean cylinder. So here I have my setup. I have my spark plug socket. I have a 6-inch extension. And then I have an adapter to fit my 1/2-inch drive. Breaker bar here, obviously. It looks like we don't need that much extension. So we can go ahead and we can crack these loose. Feels like that was actually pretty loose. So let's go ahead and just take this one out to start. Let's go ahead and pull it out. And here we have our first spark plug. Comparison here, you guys can see these are the two different spark plugs that we have. So obviously this one is the new one and this one is the old one. If we take a look, you guys can see this one is pretty cooked. I think it's had its life and this is probably what your guys's are gonna look like. These do expand over time, which this might have, and which could be causing, you know, a rougher idle as well. But this one is straightforward. It's ready to go in. So we can go ahead and drop this guy in. So we're gonna go ahead and drop this guy in just so I can show you guys what you're gonna need to do here. It's pretty straightforward. Just go ahead, point it right into your spark plug socket here, and then we can go, and because your spark plug socket's holding it, we can go ahead and drop it right in. Now, what I would suggest doing for this is not using your breaker bar to put this in. The last thing you guys are gonna wanna do is strip this thread. Normally these go in pretty good. So just go in straight, give it a couple twists by hand, make sure everything is going well, and if you feel any really tight resistance, let off right away because you will know that you've started to strip. Now that that's in, we're gonna go ahead and start tightening this. Now I'm gonna come back around, and the torque spec for these is about 12 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna give it a good twist, and probably right about there should be good. You don't wanna do it too tight, or you will strip out your threads, and you guys just don't wanna deal with that. So now that's in, you guys also don't wanna do it not tight enough because then your car won't run sufficiently. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and remove the other 4 spark plugs. So go ahead, grab all your new spark plugs, and what I'm gonna do, what I like to do at least, is put them all in before I tighten them and kind of start the threads just so I know that they're all in properly in case I have any issues. So this one's in nicely. I'm just gonna start that one by hand. Go ahead and do the other 2. With that being said, let's go ahead and put this all back together. So you can take your coil packs and start putting them in. So put them in where they used to pretty much be, but make sure you kind of rotate them, put them in. So that one's in. We can go ahead and start putting the bolt in. Again, start these by hand. Since they've all been started by hand, we can go ahead and take our ratchet and go ahead and tighten these. Make sure they're in a good position when you do tighten them down fully. I'm just giving them a nice tighten, nothing over the top. And then now your wires are next. So again, make sure you have all of them. So this is number 1, 3, and the last one, number 4. Those are all clicked in perfectly, which means now you're done in this whole area. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the car up and make sure it runs properly. Now if I was you guys, like I said before we started this, I would reset the battery so that it relearns the idle, like start it up and just let it idle for 10 minutes so that it relearns the idle with the new spark plugs, so you can get the most efficient result out of this. So your car is great now, it's running mint, and it loves you for the stuff that you just did to it. So like I said, here are the old spark plugs. These look pretty used. I don't think they were at the end of their life, but they were definitely coming to it, which is why I suggest people don't do spark plugs in their car. I think every car that I've bought personally, that's the first thing I've done to them, and the spark plugs always look bad. Even the Miata has decent kilometers on it, and the spark plugs were never replaced in them. These look like they haven't been replaced in ages. I think that car, I think those were my red Mazda Speed needed to be replaced. No one does spark plugs, which is really weird, and it's one of my biggest suggestions that you guys do to your cars, because you get such a healthier performing motor over a $40 part that's gonna, you know, last quite a long time. So that's why I definitely suggest doing it to these cars, and that's why I made today's video, so you guys can do it yourself with the premium spark plug that you guys want to pick for yourselves and your cars. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and comment down below what you guys think about today's video. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Turn on post notifications so you know when I upload for more content with this biddy, and the other biddy when it's nice outside. But other than that, guys, that's all I got. Keep it real. I'll see y'all in the next one.